Good morning, friends. My name is Darren St. George, and welcome to another Monday morning program with Sal St. George. If you've been with us before, it's always a pleasure to see you. Welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome to the party. This is how we start each and every week, celebrating entertainment's leaders, legends, and icons. And this morning is no exception. If Liza hasn't tipped you off, you should know now. We are heading over to Bevin Bells in East Hampton, Connecticut. They are the creators of the original It's a Wonderful Life bell and oh so much more. We're going to be joined by CC Bevin Gordon, who's going to be taking us on a tour of the program and teaching us all about how these wonderful bells are made. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Please share them in the chat, and I'll happily relay those over to Sal and CC. And speaking of Sal, let's get to the man of the hour. Sal, Dad, are you there? Here we go.
And good morning, good morning, good morning. Everything okay?
Oh yeah, she just watching that clip. She really does bring the house down.
That was a Kander and Ebb tune, and she had a special when she was really hot, when she was really big, after Cabaret especially, and it was called Liza with a Z. And I believe Bob Fosse did all the choreography for it, but that song became a staple in her program.
It has to be, and it was just so appropriate for this morning.
Absolutely. And we should get CC in here as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But I think we have a little intro to.
We do.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm sure CC's familiar with this.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one. As a matter of fact, I think Cece is also involved. I didn't tell you this, Darren, with the It's a Wonderful Life Festival that goes on every year.
I didn't know that. All right. Good morning, Cece. Hello.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're involved with the festival as well?
Well, we produce bells and we work directly with the, different historical societies that are involved with the show and the town and everything else. So yes, we appear in many places.
All right. Wow.
And we should not shortchange the company because besides the It's a Wonderful Life bells, you're going to learn they produce a lot of other bells that you've already heard throughout your lifetime. Am I correct, Cece?
Correct. Yeah, I'm going to take you through a little bit of a presentation that shows you a lot of the famous bells that we have been a part of and that will certainly ring a bell with all of you, I think. Yeah.
Oh, and how long has the company been around?
So we've been around since 1832. I'm sixth generation in the business. It was started by my triple great grandfather and three of his brothers.
Wow. And from what I remember you mentioning, you're one of the last bell companies in America.
Correct. We are the only bell company still in this country. It used to be that in the town where we are, which is East Hampton, Connecticut, there were 20 or even more bell manufacturers. And today we're the last man standing. So, but our town is called Bell. Our nickname is Belltown. Our high school mascot are the Bell Ringers. And in fact, I come from, believe it or not, two of the Bell families in town. My grandmother was the daughter of the Bevin, Frank Bevin, in the Bevin Bell side, and her mother, Grace Conklin, was in what's called the Gong Bell side. And Gong Bell made little wooden children's toys that incorporated Bevin bells into them. And and so I come from both Gong Bell and Bevin Bell.
What a history you have.
Yeah.
Is this like a Hershey type of thing where Hershey took over that town? And is it like that with the Bevin company?
Well, certainly the name Bevin is very familiar to everybody in town. We have Bevin Boulevard and Bevin Road and Bevin Street and Bevin Pond. And, Bevin is certainly a visible name in town, but I wouldn't say we're quite like Hershey where we've really taken it over.
Okay.
When you have a roller coaster going through.
Yeah, right, exactly. We'll put in the Bell Amusement Park. I'll have to start to imagine what that could look like. It'd be fun.
We're happy to help.
And in terms of employment, the town must, you have quite a few employees at your facility?
Well, right now we have about 25 to 30 employees at any given time. Sometimes it peaks, and naturally, as we get towards the Christmas season, things get very busy for us. But so we're not, we're a smaller family business, I guess, not huge, but definitely a visible member of our town.
Is there something that happened over the years that you remember that was kind of funny?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, funny in that, and you'll see it a little bit in my presentation, the more cowbell thing has been a source of humor forever. Saturday Night Live did a skit with Will Ferrell, which has continued to be one of the top 10 hit skits of all time for Saturday Night Live, with Will Ferrell playing the cowbell in a production, and that just comes back to us time and time again.
And that was a Bevin bell they used?
Yeah, in the video, yeah.
Wow.
Did they reach out to you ahead of time, or was that just coincidence?
Probably. I wasn't in the company at the time, so I can't actually be on 100% sure, but I suspect it was probably coincidence. But as the only U.S. bell manufacturer, it's not unusual for a bell that somebody uses to be one of our bells.
Are there any other movies, TV shows that have utilized your products?
You see our product a lot in movies when, and I can't even come up with the names right now. My husband just said to me over the weekend, he's like, there's a Bevin bell. It was a little shopkeeper bell when somebody opens the door and walks into a store, and you see that a ton in movies. But I can't, nothing comes to mind besides the.
You must be really popular on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah, exactly.
When they're doing all their Christmas. All right. Show us a little bit about your background with the company. You have some pictures for us?
Yeah, sure. I got a little slideshow here that I thought I would just share.
And if anybody has any questions, just send them through chat, and Darren will get it right out to us.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we have a question. So what about the bell on Little House? Just curious. Is that Little House on the Prairie they mean? I'm not sure.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to have to write it down and check it out. I can get back to you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia.
What was the usage of that bell? Do you know?
I don't know. Cynthia, if you're familiar with it, where was it located? Is it in a shop? But we'll find out. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it a dinner bell?
At the church. It was a church bell.
The church.
Okay, probably not. One of the things that we always get this question, it's so funny when I'm at the proverbial cocktail party and somebody says, "What do you do?" And I say, "I make bells." And then there's the 2 to 3 second pause where they look at me and they're like, "Bells? Like you mean like, church bells?" And my answer is always, we pretty much make everything except church bells. Although we don't make any that would hang in a tower, nothing that big. Our biggest bell right now is about 8 inches. But, back in the day, we did make some bigger bells, but that was never really our sweet spot. But we do make bells in churches that I think in a lot, and it's not my religion, but I think in the Catholic religion, they ring bells as part of the service. We make some of those kind of bells. You'll see a little bit of that in my presentation, but we don't make the bell choir bells that a lot of people think about. We don't make tuned bells that are a musical instrument. That's really more of a musical instrument.
So as a little girl, you grew up with bells all the time.
I did. Yeah. And, it's, so the way this company has gone over time, it's been passed down, not necessarily father to son as a lot of family companies were. And maybe that's why 6 generations later, we're still family members running the business. But it kind of went down a different chain. As I said, 4 brothers started the company. It kind of went down a different chain. Although my father worked in the business for a number of years, my brother was in the business every summer growing up, and then for a decade or more as an adult. I didn't step into the business until 2016 because my cousin, who owns the business, we're partners, he was running for governor of Kentucky and won. And didn't have any time for the company. So as another Bevin, that was, my door to get into the company. So kind of a funny background.
And what is your title with the company?
Chief Operating Officer.
Okay. Work your way up.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
Go ahead, Cece. I'll let you take over the screen.
Get this started.
Great. And as that comes up, DJ wrote, perhaps your bells were used in like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir that they play at Christmas. Probably not if it's tuned. If it's tuned, then it becomes a musical instrument, and that's not their focus.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, but you're up on the and compliments on your earrings, Cece.
Thank you. My favorites, actually. That's why I wore them today. Okay.
All right, go ahead. Take us away.
So this is what we were just talking about. This is a picture. Philo Bevin is my third great grandfather. The other guy with the long white beard on the right is Abner Bevin, his brother. So they were two of the founders of the company. And then these are some of the presidents over time. So as far as the history of the company goes, we had two Chaunceys, two Stanleys. There's not a lot of creativity there in the naming, but now it's my cousin and myself in the business. This is a picture of our factory back in 1850. This is getting an oil delivery. You can see it was a pretty large building. Lots of uses for bells back in the day. You can see here. And I just, referenced the fact that we have probably 25 to 30 employees. It was a much, much bigger staff. Back in the day, in the 1800s and certainly early 1900s, when you think about bells were in literally everything. I mean, obviously, we know that bells were on sleighs as a form of safety because sleighs were so silent. But bells were also in every cash register when you ding at the end, and when a dryer cycle ended, it was an actual bell in the dryer, or your refrigerator was left open too long. Actual physical bell. Every doorbell, every bike bell. Many cars, we had foot pedal bells in the car where you'd stomp on it and it would ring a bell. So the uses for bells were just tremendous, and that's why we could support 20 different companies in our town, and all with numbers of employees in huge factory buildings, and steel coming in daily on tractor trailers. And then, of course, the electronic bell changed everything. This is a picture inside the old factory, some sense of what it looks like as bells are going through production, and you'll be able to see some more of that in a video that I'm doing. But we have these boards that if you see here, like these boards here where bells are stacked up, or here, this is still today how we move bells around the factory on these boards in order to protect them, but they're not quite ready to be packaged and sent on yet. So it's, there's a lot. And these barrels you see here, we still use these kind of barrels today to store bells in throughout the production process.
And Cece, one of the things that people must be wondering, we can't go into the factory proper because it's way too loud.
Correct. I'm sorry. Yeah, I should mention that. It's very loud in the factory. And so that's why I have a video later on to show you inside the factory. But the noise level would mean you couldn't really anything. So you'll get it.
Is the noise from just the technology being used, just those machines, or is it the fact that you're manufacturing bells that makes it?
It's funny you say that. It's a combination of both, really. I mean, first of all, every bell gets rung before it gets packaged to test, make sure it's sounding good. I once called into a radio show that does this segment called Right Now. And what are you doing right now? And so I said, I'm driving to my job in a bell factory. And the host of the show is like, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. Do you just hear bells all day long? And in fact, we do. And we all love it. It doesn't, as with anything, you get used to that sound. But I got to tell you, when you'll see a segment in a video that I'm doing where we clean the bells, and when you're dumping 3,000 or 4,000 sleigh bells into a tub, you can imagine the sound of that is something really, everybody's wearing ear protection, and it can get quite loud, but
Wow.
it's a fun noise, but
Yeah.
mostly the noise is equipment.
Yeah, Quasimodo would have had a great job in your town.
Exactly. Oh, all right. So we talked a little bit about some of our famous moments in history. We all know this one, the Bevin bell. That was actually the bell on the tree when Clarence gets his wings. And you can see kind of the one teeny little close-up right there that there is of the bell. And you'll see some differences here. Like, this is a poor family. So the bell was really just hanging on a wire, as you can see. It wasn't a fancy bell at all. But we also...
Can we go back to that one again?
Yep.
Do you know anything about the history of how your company became part of this movie?
So we don't know because, as I'll get to later, we had a devastating fire, and we've lost all of our history, all of our paperwork, all of our everything. But if you go back in time and you look at bells, well, a lot of people think bells are a bell is a bell and the shape is the shape. Really, there's very different shapes to bells. And so looking at the shape is clearly a shape that we make. I mean, our family has known, forever that we supplied that bell, but I don't have the ancestors alive who did it in the 1940s to tell us exactly how that happened. But the other side of it is that at that time in the 1940s, there were really only, I think, 2 bell companies left at that point in the country. So it would have been very easy to track, where that bell came from.
That's an interesting fact that you just mentioned, that the bell that they were using is because they were from a very modest family.
Well, I'm talking more about this, the way that it, if you look at it, yes, it's not hung, and it's not, it's just got a little wire and stuff like that. We've sort of dressed it up a little bit in this, currently.
And in a few minutes, for the viewers, Cece's going to take us through the entire process on how they create the "It's a Wonderful Life" bell that is being sold nationally right now.
Yeah, exactly. Are you guys seeing this whole screen share thing at the top or not? I'm trying to get...
No.
Okay. All right. Great.
No.
So it was our bell on all of the Good Humor ice cream trucks back in the day. It's one of my favorite bells. It's 4 different gongs, and I think I have a picture of it a little bit later on. I apologize. I should have thrown a picture up here, but that bell today is still a very, very popular bell for us, even though most ice cream trucks now, again, have electronic bells. We sell these by the hundreds down in South America, especially on little food trucks and people that ride their little bikes around with food on the back of it, food carts. So this is still an extremely popular bell for us, but that's another sort of famous use of the Bevin bell.
So your company is international.
Oh, yes. Yeah. This bell here, we opened and closed the New York Stock Exchange for 7 decades. This is a big, 12-inch bell here. Again, stock exchange went electronic. It's kind of sad that everybody doesn't really love to keep some of those traditions alive. But this bell that is, we call it a trip gong. It's also many times referred to as a boxing bell. And Muhammad Ali, in most of his fights, it was a Bevin bell, a Bevin boxing bell or trip gong that opened and closed his fights. But that bell, that style bell today, this round style bell, is actually a mandatory piece of safety equipment in most mining companies around the world. Every mine, we sell these by the thousands around the world. And it's a means of manually alerting everybody when there's a problem in the mine, and every other form of notification has died. You have no electronics. You have no way to notify people. Our bell is constructed to withstand the rigors of the mines and the temperatures and all of that. And so it's a hugely popular bell for that. That bell today is also really, really popular in man caves, and men have them down in their basement on their bar to ring last call. And it's a real sort of manly bell. But it was very famous with, boxing for sure.
So chances are Rocky Balboa used one of your bells.
Actually, I should check that out in terms of movies. I'm putting that one down too.
And
right.
I know on the Food Network, Bobby Flay has a program called Beat Bobby Flay, and he rings a bell at the beginning of every one of the programs.
Yes, that is one too. Yes, it is.
That's one of yours?
Yes.
Wow.
Here we have Cece, a question for you. We were talking about employees a moment ago. Do you have any longtime employers, maybe even any second generation employees?
We are tremendously lucky, and I like to knock on wood when I say that, because we just celebrated one employee's 35th anniversary with us, and another employee who's just going to be retiring shortly and really acted as a general manager for many years, has been with us, well over 40 or so years. My older cousin, who owned the company previously, was with the company for 40 years. We have a lot of family in the company, and I don't mean Bevin family. I mean, families like, two sisters and one of the sisters' husband and the other sister's son and a cousin. And we have a tremendous amount of loyalty and longevity with the company, which has been a savior for us in this time when I'm sure everybody is hearing about all of the struggles to get labor and to get, people to work in factories or any kind of position like that. We've been very, very blessed by a really dedicated crew. So a lot of our people are, 10, 15, 20 years, that kind of thing.
Cece, how did the pandemic affect your company?
Well, it was hard. We had it. We were really very, very concerned in the beginning, and we went for the PPP loans, and we did all of that everybody was doing. Thankfully, that really helped us bridge the gap, because the pandemic, as you know, started in March, and the first quarter of the year is very difficult for us anyway, because we're coming off the holidays. It's a very slow time of business, but yet we need March, April, May, June to, stock up for the Christmas holidays. And because we were in the state of Connecticut, the governor of Connecticut deemed all manufacturing as essential. And we were very lucky with that. So we could stay open. Had we been across the border in Massachusetts, for example, we would have been shut down for 2 or more months, and would have gotten really behind, and our employees would, I don't know how we would have done. But then what happened was people were home and they were trapped at home, and Christmas kind of went a little crazy that year. People really buckled down and did a lot at home and decorating. And so we had actually a pretty good year that year. It wasn't devastating. We were probably down 20% over our normal numbers, but honestly, I would have been concerned. It could have been, we were very concerned it was going to be a lot worse than that. So we did okay.
Before you continue, I have one last question here about a bell from television. What about the last call bell from Cheers?
Oh, I got to check that one out.
You're going to have a list by the time we're done today. Yeah,
we have a very knowledgeable following, so they're going to keep.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Our social media will be full of all these new things that we're going to be showing off. So
what about the bells? What about the bells that are on the top of a door, like when you walk into a old time general store and it just rings?
Exactly. Those are almost always Bevin bells. Those are called Those are our shopkeeper bells, and people also use those bells for little doggy doorbells, and they hang them low, and then a dog hits it with their nose or their paw to go out. So those have multiple uses. And you know what? Where we do a big business with that bell, that shopkeeper bell, is one of our customers in Canada sells that like crazy to people out in, sort of remote areas. And it's an alarm system for them, because if somebody tries to open a door to get into their house or whatever, that bell rings, and it's used in that way quite a lot, which is very, different, but obviously a great use of it.
I love that that's the Canadian alarm system. Ours blares for a mile, but in Canada, there's an emergency.
Ding, ding. Somebody's breaking and entering.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are paying a lot of money for systems, and all you need is a bell. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, exactly. It's so funny.
How many? This is I don't know if you could even answer this. How many different products that you manufacture? How many? Because we
have like probably 50 different sizes and styles of bells that we manufacture today. But I got to tell you that we manufacture probably 50 to 30% of what we have the dies to make, but it's just, what the market will bear and what people will buy. So we can't overextend ourselves and having, some of the bells that we keep and in our lineup and that we sell, any Harvard Business School graduate would come in and shut us down in about 3 seconds flat. They make absolutely no financial sense. It's more of a mission at this point to just keep that bell or that style alive. And we have, in each case with some of these bells, we have, a customer that really relies on that bell, and they might only buy 1,000 of them or even 500 in a year, but it means a lot to them. So, we keep some of these things alive just out of, I don't know, mission-oriented work, I guess.
2 more questions for bells. Harrison Ford's movie Witness, that has a bell.
Okay, what kind of bell is that?
I don't know that one. If you could write in, it came from Films. That's the username. What bell kind of bell was it? And also the drugstore bell from Andy Griffith. Is that one of yours?
Oh, okay. I wouldn't be surprised, but is that, I don't know whether, so we make a lot of the, what are called, let me just see if I have one, but you'll see it later on. The call bells, a tap that you tap for service at a hotel or a deli or something like that. We call that a call bell. And that might be the drugstore bell they're referring to, either that or the shopkeeper bell. But those are 2 bells that are often sold in stores or for use by
But
stores.
when you you're able to identify it just by looking at it.
I can definitely, and my family gets absolutely insane with me, because every time I walk into a store and there's a little dinging call bell, I pick it up, I look at it, I hold it. They're like, "Oh my God, if there's a bell hanging on the door, I want to check and see if it's a cheap import or it's a good American-made bell." So I check it out every time.
Jeff has a question. Do you sell bell peppers at company picnics?
Maybe we should start eating them, but we don't sell them.
serving bell peppers at the company picnic.
Well,
yes.
you're going to see a picture of a company picnic coming up here. So
here we go. We know this one.
All right. So this is the Gotta Have More Cowbell from. So now we sell it with the Gotta Have More Cowbell symbol on it, but and he's playing a bigger version. We sell it in several different sizes, but
Darren, I think you had one of those on your drum set.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, a lot of people have the cowbell on their drum kit. Yeah.
Yep.
So here's a look at some of our historical bells. We were just talking about the call bell, and what's amazing is, in history, how many different. This page here, I've probably got three flaps of this. We probably made 30, 40 different styles of call bell. Today we make 2. There just isn't the same demand for them that there was, but they were beautiful and decorative, and it was just amazing how many different styles we had. Then you can see here from one of our old catalogs, we do still sell bells that go on cows and on sheep for sure, agricultural bells. But naturally, that was a much, much bigger business back before electric fences and all of that kind of thing. So you can get a sense for that. These are some of the really beautiful sleigh bells that we used to make that would go on that they were not only decorative. This I thought was fascinating, where the clappers for the bell, and that's what you call the thing inside the bell. Here, they're actually on the outside of the bell. And we're looking at that right now, thinking, is there something we could do, in this day and age to bring that back, maybe? This is probably one of my favorite historical things. These go on the front of skis for Nordic skiing, and I think they're absolutely hilarious. And you would just mount this on your ski, I guess. I mean, I think it was kind of more of a joke gift, but hilarious.
I just want to put them on my shoes.
You could be a Christmas elf with those on your shoes.
Yeah.
I wish we still had some of these because they're so cool. This is just a picture of this is in our historical society in town, showing just a bunch of the history of the bells. This, like I mentioned, church chimes and that kind of thing. So this was, we had an entire catalog that was just for, church and altar bells.
Were those school bells that were in that photograph that the teacher would ring to gather the students?
Yes, exactly. A lot of people call those teacher bells. Yep.
What are they called?
We call them a handbell. So a handbell to us, looks like this. That's what we call a handbell. But a lot of people call them teacher bells.
A question here: are your bells, when you were talking about livestock for cows and sheep, are your bells used in Europe? Are they popular there?
No. Our bells are not used in Europe for that. Those are European Swiss cowbells, and those are beautiful, beautiful bells. But that is, they have their bells and for livestock, and we have ours. And I can't lie, they make beautiful cowbells over there. This is a look at our factory today. Go here. So this is my cousin Matt and myself, who are the generation leading the company at this time. We had in 2012, on Memorial Day of 2012, so really just 12 years ago, we had a devastating fire that burned our factory to the ground. And this is a significant part of our history now, unfortunately. You can see how big our factory was, and we lost absolutely everything. We lost every historical bell that we had. We lost every piece of paper. We lost absolutely everything. And the only thing we didn't lose was the dies that we used to make our bells. And when you see the video coming up, you'll see some of the dies that we have. And that's because dies are made out of such big, dense, heavy steel that they didn't burn. They got damaged and we were able to repair them. But this was a real turning point for our company in 2012. My cousin had just bought the company from his uncle, and he thankfully had the means to help us come back from this tragedy. So today, this is our factory. Today, we were very lucky that there was an empty building just less than a quarter of a mile away. It's really a stone's throw from the old factory. And we were able to move in. You can see a picture inside today. Within 3 weeks of the fire, we were making bells in this building. That's how quickly we were able to turn it around. So we were able to buy these big used presses here. These are 150-ton presses. Those I'll talk to you a little bit later about these shopping carts that you see all over the place, which is kind of a funny aspect of our factory. And you'll see these machines in action in the video that I have. This is a look at, we just had a cookout last week, speaking of cookouts. And this is a look at some of our employees and everybody, it's just a very collegial group. We really enjoy each other and have a good time together. So it's a casual, very family feel. It's our Christmas party at a local Mexican restaurant, just to give you a flavor of the people behind this company, because
it looks like you have all ages there.
We do. It's interesting, and I'm glad you point that out, because for a while we were quite concerned about having such an old workforce and so much tribal knowledge and so much of this stuff. The man who's retiring, who's been with us for over 40 years, and deeply involved in the business and really managing it for so long. He says he's the last living bellologist in the world. He's got all the bell knowledge in his head, and we've been working for so many years to try to pull it all out of his head so that doesn't just go away when he goes away. But and we've been working to hire some younger employees and bring them up through the ranks too. So you can see that and I just love our workforce. They're just great. So we've talked a lot about bells and what we do, but actually what very few people know, and I'll spend 2 seconds on it because nobody ever wants to hear about it, but we also make compressed gas cylinders, and 50% of our business is making cylinders that, if you think about like a home fire extinguisher or somebody who might be on oxygen and has to carry an oxygen tank around with them. So we make cylinders like that in our factory as well, and hence the shopping carts. So these are tubes that can easily roll and move around, so we can more easily contain them in a shopping cart. So we'll cut tubing to certain lengths, and then we have another 150-ton press here that the tubes go in here, and they get formed to the tops get bent in. These are automatic welding machines. The cylinders go into these machines and they get these little pieces welded onto them. So at the end, you can see we have now a formed and welded cylinder. And there's just a bazillion uses for these things. But I only mention it because it is 50% of our company, but it's the part that's really not as interesting or fun to talk about.
Scuba tanks?
No, we don't do any that large. We're just a bit smaller than that. A huge business for us is fire suppression. Mm-hmm. And our tanks are used on, if you think about huge earth moving equipment that's maybe got 12-foot tall tires, and it's out in deserts, and it's out in very harsh conditions. And those vehicles are a huge, massive fire risk. And they might have 10 or 20 of our cylinders on it as a fire suppression to just launch the foam or the powder or whatever method they're going to use for fire suppression. So here's a look at some of the types of bells we make today. Here's the call bell that we were talking about. Here's the wonderful life bell, which we're going to look at. These are the teacher bells or hand bells and little tea bells. These are our Kentucky cowbell. So we have a Kentucky cowbell, and we have what we call a long distance cowbell. So here is a long distance cowbell that is, you can hear the sound of.
We won't be able to hear sounds. That's just something Zoom. They cut the audio for those types of things.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Even though you can hear me talking, you can't hear the bell ringing.
We've run into this problem in the past with other objects, and correct. Yeah. Zoom prioritizes voice. So anything outside of that, they try to suppress.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, well, here's a Kentucky cowbell. The difference is that this bell is a 5-piece construction. So it's like 2 different pieces welded together here, plus the handle and what goes into the clapper. It's a much more difficult bell to make than this cowbell here, which is just a 1-piece construction. But we make all manner of sleigh bells. These are our bigger patio bells. We make this up into an 8-inch size. This is a big sleigh bell for us that we put a little bottle opener on it, and we call it Santa's Little Helper. And it's a little bottle opener, or you can call it Daddy's Little Helper. So this is just a sampling of some of the types of bells that we make. If you were to walk into our office, this is just our little display in our office to show a bit of the variety. On the bottom here, you can see a little, these 2 bottom shelves here are the sum total of every bell that we have that's a historical bell. And the only reason we even have that many, and that's nothing, is because people generously have given them back to us over the years, or we've bought some on eBay. But because we lost everything in the fire, we were very lucky at the time that the fire happened that our bell, we had it given away probably 20 or 30 bells to another historical society for a little presentation, and we got those bells back. So they happened to just be off site at the time of the fire, just by sheer luck. You can see over in the corner here that what is a takeoff of the Good Humor ice cream truck bell. So
Cece, can you try ringing those bells again? We had a recommendation. I changed an audio setting. Let's see if we have
okay.
anything.
So here's the Kentucky. Can you hear that?
No.
Go ahead. Keep talking and ring it. Try that.
Here's the Kentucky bell.
No.
No.
I hear your voice. Your voice gets suppressed, but the bell doesn't come through.
Well, as
Strange.
annoying as that is for us right now, it's kind of amazing technology that they've been able to do that, honestly. So maybe I could have walked around the factory with all of you. Honestly, I didn't even think that could be possible.
But if you want, you can ring it, and Darren will start just making sounds.
Well, one is a deeper, throatier sound, and one is a higher pitched sound. That's really the difference. It's amazing to people how different bells can sound.
Okay. Here's something we didn't think of. Is there a bell designer that you get the different sounds out of them?
No, not for us now. Maybe back in the day there would have been, but right now, honestly, there isn't enough demand for us to create new shapes of bells because it costs us probably $50,000 to $100,000 for the dies to make a new bell. So it's just too cost prohibitive. So we tend to do our changes and designs with existing shapes, and then we add something on top, or we couple them together, or we put a new handle or a new clapper or something in. But we're
Pop,
not really.
The point you're going to, I can speak to because I have seen interviews. The Zildjian company who makes cymbals.
Mm-hmm.
What you're saying, making a custom sound. They have their templates that they've been using for however many decades, but they said they will have somebody come in to make a custom sound if it's a famous drummer. And they'll say, "Oh, I want this pitch, or I want that tonality." That's the only time they have to make a custom sound.
So Zildjian is a great company and a great example. They're probably one of the oldest family-owned and family-run companies in the world.
Yeah,
I forget where they date back to, but it's way, way, way more than us. And but we could do that if we wanted to. Somebody could buy our bells and tune them. And Zildjian can probably do that with an existing cymbal just by, buffing and, changing the thickness and, the different things like that. But yeah. So, we do all of the bells for all of the Salvation Army. So when you see somebody out ringing the kettle bell, the bells at Christmas, this is a picture here of the bells in our oven. Every bell gets baked, and that really helps with the sound as well. So when we make a bell, it also gets baked in an oven, and that tightens up the sound and makes it a much better harmonious sound. So you can see a sample of some of the different Salvation Army bells, but they buy, we have 4 divisions in this country. The Salvation Army is broken into 4 divisions, and we sell to each division differently. It's funny to see what sells in each section of the country. We also make a little bell called a mall bell for them. And that bell just has it has no clapper inside. It's just got a little piece of wire so that it's very quiet, so that when you're ringing it in a mall, the people in the stores that are near where you aren't going to hate you forever. We do cowbells are still very huge for us, but nowadays the primary use of that is for events like road races and ski races. And we sell a ton during the Olympics. Somebody just texted me the other day and said they were watching the swimming trials and everybody's talking about cowbells. So we see a lot of business from marathons, the New York Marathon, the Tokyo Marathon, things like that. So sponsors will buy our bells. And again, they go through the factory. It's just kind of fun to see such a huge quantity of them. You can see some bells over here in this little thing are getting their handles put on. These are a picture of our ice cream bells in production, getting ready to go out. These are all brass bells that are just about to get put with, have lacquer put on them, and then they'll go in the oven and they'll bake and finish them up. These are some of our larger patio bells in production, going through the process. Sleigh bells are huge for us. Probably our largest single customer is Poochie bells, and they put them on a string, and they're a doorbell for dogs. And so you hang them on a doorknob, and a dog's going to ring it with their nose to go out. That's a huge one for us. Another, if everybody's familiar, people are probably going to ask me next about the Polar Express and if the bell in the Polar Express is a Bevin bell. Sadly, it's not. And the people who own the Polar Express franchise, we've been trying to work with them for years to have the bells that they do at Christmas be an American-made bell, but sadly, they're buying all of them over in China. But we do a very robust business playing off the Polar Express with just a Believe bell, sleigh bell. So that's a very big business for us. And of course, decorative bells and that kind of thing. So I have next a video to show you the making of a sleigh bell. And it's probably my favorite bell that we make because it's the easiest and it requires the fewest things are going to go wrong, the less labor involved. So it's a really good product for us, but it's really fun to watch. I think it's the most exciting bell to see being made. So I just have a video here I'm going to run through. What you see here is our steel that comes in on coils, and it's now loaded onto a machine that's going to feed that steel into the press. And it's going to continuously spit. You're going to see if you go on here that the press is now going up and down, and the steel is moving each time. You can see it here moving through to a different station. These here are the little balls, the little BB balls that are going into the center of the bell, and we call those a jinglet. And you can see here they're getting dropped into the sleigh bells down there, and then ultimately going into the barrel to be finished off. But this is quite a process. It's what we call a progressive die because it's moving from station to station automatically. And you have to have somebody stand at full time. Because you can imagine all those pieces, 150 tons going up and down like that, things can go wrong. But it's really a fun process to watch.
You said those are made out of steel?
These are made out of steel. We only do steel sleigh bells today.
Steel sleigh bells. What about some of the other bells? Do you use different materials?
We use brass, and you'll see the brass when we're talking about the Wonderful Life bell, because that is. Let me see. I think that's So here is our Wonderful Life bell today. You can see we've added a little finial on the top. That's a wreath, but essentially it's pretty much the bell from the movie. And what I've done is I've put together a video to just show the whole process of how a bell is made. And Darren, if you or Sal, if you want me to speed it up or stop.
No, go right ahead. Let's watch.
Yep.
No, that sounds great.
Okay.
And I'm going to squeak in one more question here. Kentucky bells, are they named Kentucky bells after the state or the governor? Do you know?
I have no idea because they have been, and they're definitely not named after the governor because that the name Kentucky Bell has been around since ever, that we've seen that bell in our line. And I don't know where the name came from, but I have to imagine it must have come from the state and probably a large agricultural history there. But yeah, I don't know. There's so many weird anomalies like that in the bell world where so many things you saw. And maybe it was, again, because all of the companies were in the same town and everybody shared employees and shared this and that. But the naming conventions are really make no sense at all. For example, our Kentucky bells, our largest one is the OK, and the next smaller one is 1K, 2K, 3K, all the way down. But when you look at our other cowbells, they start, the smallest one is the 8LD, 10LD. Like, I don't know where the different numbers and everything came from. It just very strange.
Cece, before you run the video, and that it'll probably be to the end of the program. When we first spoke, you and I, you said do you think people would really be interested in watching this? And I said, I think they're going to be very interested. It's a really unique subject matter. Darren, would you read those last 2 chats that came in?
Yeah, 3 more are coming in now. So
They're
it
still
says,
coming?
once again, you have taken me on a journey I did not know I would enjoy so much. Reason Mondays are so wonderful. Thank you. Another one. Yes, this was very interesting and a fun talk. Another. You never think about how these things are made. It is so interesting. This is wonderful. This has been fascinating. So,
They're still
Cece,
popping in.
Yeah, you're doing great work, and
that's
thank you so
very
much for
kind.
sharing it with us.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So then this can take us out. And when you watch, Sal had asked me kindly about if people wanted to buy a bell, which of course we would love. And our website is bevinbells.com. And I am offering a 10% discount with the code museum tour, all one word, all lowercase, but that will be at the end of the video. I just put a little thing in too, so you could see that.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get to It's a Wonderful Life, the making of the bell.
All right, here we go.
Most people are familiar with the iconic holiday classic.
Hold on 1 second, Cece.
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, we're still on your slideshow. So do a new screen share and share the video screen.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
And yes, a question came in. The company does sell retail as well as wholesale.
Yeah.
And you can see that on the website. I just dropped the link into the chat if you want to take a look.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, that's okay.
1 second here. I didn't realize that it would need to be done that way. So
we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for the kind words. I love these types of programs that surprise us.
Same here.
It's wonderful. When we have the programs and we talk about The Godfather, yes, oh, what a masterpiece, what a revelation. But it's wonderful to find these types of tours that are just on the fringe of entertainment, and you see how much they connect to our lives in so many different ways.
And they're in our own backyard every day, and we didn't know it.
Oh, somebody mentioned a bell that we don't have anymore. They said at gas stations, if you ran over a line, a bell would ring.
Yep, that is absolutely true. I don't know what, that's probably all electronic these days. So I apologize for the side of my head here as I get this going. But
no, that's fine. Cece, can people come visit you?
So people are welcome to come visit us, and people come in all of the time. Oh, whoops, sorry. That's I don't know how that happened. It's a very small office. We aren't allowed to have people out on the factory floor. Thank you to OSHA. So, I'm happy to have people come by, say hi, see our little display, buy a bell in person. We have that little display rack that you all saw. So, people, when they're stopping through, please come by. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's try this again here. All right. You let me know, Darren, if this stuff.
Now you're up. We have the video. Okay.
Most people are familiar with the iconic holiday classic film, It's a Wonderful Life. This is the famous scene at the end of the movie where Clarence, the angel, finally gets his wings, and it is a Bevin bell on a tree that rings. This is our current recreation of that bell, and we're going to show you where and how that bell is made today. This is a look inside our factory today, and I'm especially proud of the flags that represent all of the different countries that our workers come from. This is the room where we store all of our dies. We have hundreds of dies that make all of the many different sizes and varieties of bells that we offer. We make all of our bells out of either steel or brass, and this is a look at how that material comes into our factory. It is on giant coils that then will get fed through our press machine. Here you see brass loaded onto one of our feeders that is now feeding that brass through the press and into the die that we have loaded onto the press. You can see the press going up and down, and each time it goes up and comes back down, the brass has moved through to another station. If you look closely, you can watch it moving. And if you look even more closely, you can see finished bells actually popping out the back and being caught in a barrel. Off to the right, you can see that the scrap brass is being saved in a container that we will then recycle. In this next step, all bells are put through our tumbling machine that is taking off burrs and cleaning off oil that happens in the process. And they're then dumped into corn cob and being dried. In this picture, you're seeing different style bells than we're talking about here, but it gives you a sense of the process. We call this initial step the blanking of the bells, and once the bells have been blanked, they are stored in cardboard barrels and transported to the next step in the process. In the case of these wonderful life bells that are made out of brass, the next step for them and any of our brass bells is to move on to a buffer.
This might be a
The
Zildjian.
buffer, their job is to take out all of the scratches and make them nice and shiny and ready for the next step. In this video, you're seeing them buffing a cymbal, because I don't actually have videos of our bells being buffed, but you get a sense of how the process works. Here, they're applying the final finishing coat of buffing solution to make it ultra shiny. For the next step, the bells are loaded back into barrels and back onto a truck and taken to our engraver. At the engraver, they're going to use laser graving technology to engrave the words, "It's a Wonderful Life," on the bell. Of course, that wasn't actually on the bell in the movie. This is just something we have added now as a memento for people who loved the movie. Once the engraving is finished, the bells are loaded back into barrels, back onto a truck, and headed to the silver plater. The original bell is made out of brass, but because the bell in the movie was silver, we silver plate these bells. Once the bells are finished at the silver plater, they are carefully wrapped and placed in specialty boxes that we have created. They're loaded back on a truck and brought back to the factory for their final step in the process. Now you see the bells back in our finishing room, and Shannon is putting them together. First, she's taking them out of the special anti-tarnish wrap that is put on at the silver plater. Then she's inspecting the bell to just make sure there's no blemishes or other problems. Now she's taking the clapper assembly, and this is what's going inside the bell to make the sound. It's being put on a special die that we have that helps with the assembly. I've sped this up a little bit now so that it doesn't take too long, but we're putting the finial on top. It's a little reef finial. She's adjusting it and making sure it's quite tight. You will notice that in the movie, there was not this finial on top of it. They just had a wire because they were a very poor family, but we have also added this for the keepsake bell. She's now wrapping that bell back up into its anti-tarnish paper. And then she's going to attach with a red ribbon the Wonderful Life tag that talks about the movie and goes along with the bell when it's being sold. The final step for this bell, after it gets the tag, will be to be inserted into a red velvet bag. And that's how every bell is sold. So it can be a beautiful gift for somebody.
Yay.
What a treat. Yay. Well done. Well done.
Cece, that's wonderful.
All right. Thank you. So let me just stop screen sharing here for a second.
Cece,
All
there
right.
was one moment that scared me. There was a bucket, and inside was a piece of paper that said 649 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
How did that piece of paper get in there to say 649 pieces?
So
And
when
who,
we have
and who counted it?
Exactly. That's what.
So we have a couple ways of doing that, but when we store the barrels, it's really critical that every barrel has, and it's actually a discarded piece of cardboard, and the operator writes on it what the style of the bell is and how many are on there, and it gets counted in two ways. In the very beginning, every time that press moves, the press is counting the bells. So we know exactly how many bells have come off. I mean, every once in a while you lose one or two, but by and large, we'll know that we have made 7,000 sleigh bells today. And those numbers have to go on top of the bell, or we can weigh it. Then we know how much each bell weighs. So, yeah.
Cece, we can't thank you enough. This has been a marvelous tour, and I think it's one of the best that we've had.
Yeah.
You're sweet.
This
Thank
is
you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, Darren, take it away.
All right. I want to show everybody where they can learn more. Of course, they can head over to, here we go, bevinbells.com. Oh, we have a question sneaking in. What do you do with the recycled metal?
We send it out to a recycler and we get money for it. And it's funny because we save it up and we have barrels. It's our little slush fund. So if money gets tight, we send our metal out for recycling then, and we kind of hold it as a little bank account.
All right, everybody, you can head over to bevinbells.com. Plenty of bells for you to choose from that you've seen today. Oh, even these.
Yep.
What is the material?
Bells.
What are we looking at?
That's all steel that's been powder coat painted white.
Wow.
Yep. And then don't forget the discount code of museum tour, all lowercase, all one word, and that's good through Wednesday.
Yep, and I put that into the chat as well. That's good through Wednesday. You'll also receive a follow-up email with all of these links and the museum tours as one more reminder, so that you'll be able to go to the website directly and enjoy your new favorite bell. Follow them along on Facebook right there. Click the like button. You can see everything that they have going on, as well as on Instagram. They're on Instagram as well.
Oh, when you go back, that bell right there on the left-hand side, the 3-bell thing, it's a new bell we just launched called the Gratitude Bell. And it's for cancer centers, for people to ring. A lot of cancer centers have bells that you ring when you're finished with your treatments. This one is for people who aren't going to get that day, who might be stage 4 cancer, but to ring in gratitude for everything they've gotten. And we're getting a lot of traction with that bell. It's kind of a nice story.
You can also follow Celebrity Museums. Celebrity Museums, we're on Facebook as well. Look, talking about Bevin Bells, and actually we're live streaming there right now. So thank you everybody who's watching. We're on Instagram. Feel free, sign up and follow us on Instagram. We're on YouTube, and we have some new videos up. We have talking about Celebrity Museums, about what we do, museums around the world. And we have a program up talking about women who continue to transform Hollywood from some of our popular virtual road trips. You can watch both of them on YouTube at celebritymuseums.com. We're on X nearly every day. And what are we talking about today, Pop?
Many people don't realize before Peter Falk, Thomas Mitchell, the great character actor, portrayed Columbo.
Yeah. And tying into It's a Wonderful Life. Right? Isn't this?
Oh, yeah. Thomas Mitchell.
Yeah.
Uncle Billy.
I thought that's why you did it.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Sign up for all of our programs at celebritymuseums.com. And what do we have coming up here? We have lots of virtual road trips. The next program. Oh, the next program? Oh my goodness. Is already July 1st. It's next Monday is July 1st. We're heading to the Museum of Puppetry. Unbelievable. Nice. And we're back in Connecticut. We have the Alice Austin House coming up, or the Winston Link Museum, Volo Museum. This was a very surprising find. I think this is one of those programs we're going to be pleasantly surprised by. But lots of things to have a good time, lots of laughs and fond memories.
And people have been asking us about the Twilight Zone forever, and we have a program coming up on that.
Yep, that we'll have to wait until September, but it's on the calendar. You can sign up now. Cece,
all right.
So much.
Thank you, everybody. This was a real treat. Cece, we had a ball.
Thank you. It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next Monday. Thanks,
Bye-bye,
everybody.
gang.